there are rumors spreading around, guys, that these institutions want their clients to buy in, and then it's off to the races. Why? Justin, $7.7 trillion asset manager Vanguard removes Bitcoin futures ETFs from its own platform. Not only did they block customers, guys, but now they completely removed Bitcoin futures, right, ETFs from their own platform. That's insanity, right? So more people are pissed. Some are bullish, guys, because it just means they're going to be enabling it later, right? And then it's probably going to be at a higher price than it is now, guys. But with all these things happening, guys, it's like the Bitcoin halving, right? It gets all hyped up. Then when it does occur, what happens to Bitcoin's price? It dumps. A few months later, it's up dramatically. So it's quite fascinating, guys, right? It doesn't make sense though, because this is a clown show. Why? Vanguard going all against crypto makes no sense, considering that BlackRock and the Rockefeller Foundation, guys, own most of the shares in Vanguard. Isn't that fascinating, guys, right? They both own each other, shares of each other, guys. So why are they doing this? Interesting, isn't that? There's a deeper agenda to all this, it seems, as from Jim Cramer. In-depth Bitcoin top call at end of Mad Money on CNBC tonight. Now, this is still bullish, guys, because they're all being bearish, even from Peter Schiff. Bitcoin already fallen from just above 49k yesterday to just below 42k today. That's over a 14% decline. It could be a long weekend for the Bitcoin bulls. If the new Bitcoin ETFs gap way down on Monday, it will be interesting to see how investors react. I doubt they will hold on for dear life. Well, these people, the only issue here is these people have been bearish since Bitcoin bottomed, right? And these cryptos bottomed. That's the part, guys, that's missing, right? That people don't see. Now, it's fascinating how there's a lot of attacks incoming for cryptocurrencies, because Justin, SEC Chair Gary Gensler, says Bitcoin is a highly speculative, volatile asset used for money laundering and ransomware. Now, isn't that crazy, guys? I'm not going to play the video, but he's definitely attacking Bitcoin heavily. Now, I don't think the reason why we dumped is because of all these news, right? All that stuff. I think it's because of the CPI data, guys, which we're about to talk about in just a second. That's why I warned everyone to watch out for yesterday's CPI inflation data report, right? Gary Gensler says there is an irony in the midst of this. Satoshi Nakamoto said this was going to be decentralized system, and finance. This has led to centralization. Is Gary watching our video, guys? Because that's what we just stated yesterday, right? Even though the ETFs went live and all these things are happening, the cryptosphere has become somewhat more centralized. Okay, so that's out the way, guys, right? The quote-unquote bearish news and whatnot. Well, we may have to, guys, we have to take this into account, because this is why I warned to watch out for yesterday. On the 11th, breaking, United States inflation rises to 3.4%, higher than expectations. What do we say, guys? If it's lower than expectations, that's going to be the trigger. But instead, it was the opposite. It was higher than expectations. That's not good. That's not too good, guys, right? But in a minute, we may talk about how this may be a trap, okay, for the short term. Just a moment. Now, it rose in expectations before. It was what, 3.1%, okay? That's not too good. But because if inflation rises, guys, people are going to hedge, okay, and go swarm into the dollar. But check this out, though. Yesterday CPI, so this was from back on November 15th, okay? And it makes sense, though, because even though inflation went back up, guys, what if next month we'll go back down, right? And that should be the trigger. That should be it, guys, for that blow off top moment, if it does occur. Why? So this is the M2 rate of change, okay? As you guys can see how it parabolically went up, guys, and it's going all the way back down, right? What happened to the United States inflation rate year over year? Parabolically went up, and it's going all the way back down, right? it follows the M2 rate of change, guys. So what does this mean? Okay, as you guys can see, it's been plummeting, guys, which means CPI or inflation has to follow soon, right? We are right here. Look at that. We are right here, basically. What comes next, guys? Down movements, right? Which means if inflation goes back down to like 2%, guys, or 2 point something percent, cryptos will have that trigger to move parabolically upwards fast, quick and fast, okay? Now, when will it happen? In a couple of weeks, 2 weeks from now, it's the FOMC meeting, and let's talk about it. This is very important, guys. Please like and share, because no one else will say these things, right? We're trying to get ahead of the curve. Okay, people are bearish and whatnot, but this is what matters. The next FOMC meeting is taking place on the 31st, I think, of this month, January 2024. And the market believes they're going to hold rates. What does that tell us, guys? There's a trickery going on. Why? For the month of March is the next FOMC meeting. Supposedly, the market believes they're going to cut rates. But over here, inflation rises. The market doesn't believe the Fed will hike more. This tells us that if they're going to cut rates, guys, right, in the month of March, does that mean inflation will go lower? Because February there is no meeting, guys, right? It's only January, March, and then May 1st, I think, or somewhere around there. In that 1 month period, we could honestly have that rally towards the upside, like go parabolic, guys, right? And then look at that, cut rates. Why? Because the market believes something broke in the economy, right, in the system, so they have to cut, and come in and save the day, which makes perfect sense because this is an election year, guys. Usually on election years, there's always a black swan event that takes place. Look back in the past, in history. Even Jim Cramer says Fed won't cut rates this year. I won't play the video, but if that's what he says, guys, right, well, which tells us that the Federal Reserve will 100% cut rates this year, right? And more, I think. If things do start to collapse, guys, right, they're going to cut rates very quickly. Emergency meetings and all sorts of stuff. Look at the SPX. It literally went above 4,800, almost to near the previous all-time high, guys, right? So stocks aren't even going down, guys. Look at that V-shaped recovery. Things are looking quite well in the grand scheme of things. Why? Even though Bitcoin is trading lower, well, check this out. We actually talked about this. We actually called it, guys. You can't make this stuff up. Don't worry, it's normal. You had to hold gold after its ETF in 2004 for over 273 days before you were rewarded. Okay? Now, I'm going to explain the differences between the assets and compare both, guys, but we actually talked about if Bitcoin were to follow gold's ETF price trajectory, it would pump right before the ETF approval. Then when it does get approved, dump and go consolidate, go sideways and pump out. Okay? Go back in the video, guys. We talked about this. If history does repeat. Now, this is gold. It took about almost a year, right? For Bitcoin, it's a quicker asset, right? Things move quickly in the cryptosphere, so maybe a month max. And it ties into the CPI inflation data reports in the month of February. Interesting. Did we just crack the code, guys? I don't know, right? So I'm not bearish yet until we create new lows for Bitcoin, right? But like Bitcoin has to go below like 40K, guys. Then maybe things will become more bearish, but it hasn't yet though. Okay. So this is fascinating. Now someone's going to comment, okay, but gold and Bitcoin are completely two different assets, right? Well, you are right, but here's the comparison, guys. Back then, right? Here comes the people's arguments. Back then, people didn't have gold in their portfolio because it was hard to acquire, right? You had to buy it and store it in your home, wherever, guys, and then sell and physically do stuff, right? With the gold you acquired and then sell and whatever, trade it. Back then, so the argument comes in. Back then, retail didn't buy gold until the ETFs got approved. Then retail started to FOMO in, okay, into the ETFs and whatnot, into the gold asset, guys. And then the argument comes as that's different than Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin, you could buy it off of exchanges and all sorts of stuff. But here's the difference, guys. Back then, elites, the central bankers, had gold, right? A ton of gold. They already bought a bunch of it, guys, right? So it was retail driven back then, but this is the opposite this time, meaning the traditional financial system isn't even into Bitcoin yet, right? So now it's going to be a traditional rally, guys, towards the upside, right? So it's the opposite. You guys know what I mean? So it may honestly rally here soon, maybe in the next month or so. Consolidation first, who knows? Even BlackRock CEO says Bitcoin is no different than what gold represented for thousands of years. It is an asset class that protects you, right? There we go. We just got confirmed, guys. They're kind of similar, right? So if Bitcoin does follow it, maybe a month of sideways, right? Look at that. And then off to the races. Literally, it goes, what? Parabolic, guys. You can't make that stuff up. Look at that, right? And it just goes higher and higher and higher. So I don't know. I'm still hopeful, I guess. Why? The demand is there, guys. Justin, Coinbase is $7 billion in Bitcoin transactions or transfers over the counter today, right? Over the counter means they didn't buy it on the open market, guys. So that's why prices didn't shoot up to like 60K or whatever, right? Great new all-time highs. They were buying over the market, so it doesn't affect Bitcoin's price, right? There's a delay. At some point, they're going to run out of Bitcoin OTC, and they have to buy on the market, right? And push it up. You guys can see how there is demand, guys, which is very bullish. Bloomberg analyst says Bitcoin ETF had more volume than 95% products launched on Wall Street in the last year. This is only the beginning, guys. Look at that, right? A lot of people are eyeing Bitcoin, and not to mention people are still blocked. That's insane, right? So what comes next for cryptocurrencies in the United States, guys? Here comes the CEO at Coinbase. He says,
so in a blog post, you say that spot Ether, a spot Ether ETF, can quickly follow. How soon do you think that happens? And then beyond that, is it Solana? Is it, you name the coin? I mean, how do you see this playing?
They never said XRP, but what if XRP is before Ethereum, guys? Right? Obviously, it's going to say yes. I don't even need to see the video, guys. We don't even need to check. But Fink says, next step will be tokenization of all assets, financial assets. Ah, interesting. Why? It's coming, and they're coming for it all, guys. Not half, not some, everything. The ETFs were the first step. What's next, guys? This is what's next. Who's saying this, guys? It's BlackRock CEO Larry Fink. What?
Like Ethereum will have to approve an Ethereum ETF. And is that a function of something the SEC has to do, or do you think?
Oh, so he answers the Ethereum ETF, but not the XRP one. Okay. Wow.
That all these things have to go to court first.
I couldn't respond to that. I see value in having an Ethereum ETF. As I said, these are just stepping stones towards tokenization. And I really do believe this is where we're going to be going. We have the technology to tokenize today.
Wow, it's all about tokenization. Who else stated this, guys? Ripple themselves and we on this channel, right? It's all heading towards, I guess, that metaverse future. Insane stuff.
If you want to think about this. If you had a tokenized security and you have a tokenized identity, you, Andrew, the moment you buy or sell an instrument, it's known. It's on a general ledger that is all created together.
On the XRP ledger? Which ledger?
You want to talk about issues around money laundering and all that. This eliminates all corruption by having a tokenized system.
Jamie Dimon.
Which means everything will be centralized and watched 24/7, 365 days. What?
Disagrees with you on that, but, or at least to some degree. Let me ask you this before we let you go, which is there has been a massive backlash, as you know.
So now do we see the future, right? It's not only it seems like the first step is the Bitcoin ETF, then it trickles down to the other ETF coins, right? Coin ETFs, and then tokenization of assets onto the blockchain, guys. Crazy. Let us see what happens in that future world. Not financial advice. What is that, Sophia's amazingness? See ya.